Monday and good evening again, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know you have a lot of different selections when it comes to entertainment or talk shows, so I really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you. Tonight, we were supposed to have a guest from the banking industry, but she called in sick, so we're going to plow on. I'm going to be a solo show tonight. So as always, we're going to start with a question or a fact. The question is it beneficial to have a great relationship with your bank? The answer is yes, of course, as long as you find the right bank. Let me preface that just to be sure. So the top reason is the relationship helps when applying for loans or getting credit cards. But that will be a topic for another day. Tonight, we're going to talk about regular banking, pretty much. Now, remember, I'm not just saying yes because I used to be a banker. It truly has advantages to have a great relationship with your bank. So what are the advantages? Having a great relationship could help you get better interest rates. As soon as you start saving more money, you want it to earn a little bit more. It can also be great in saving you money in terms of fees. As long as the bank understands your business and you guys can tailor a solution for yourself, it will save you money. Also, having the proper products that you need for your everyday operations, these are called treasury management products. It's very important that you know what the bank offers and that you are using it properly. And then most important, you want a relationship with a banker that you can trust. I've always said that you should have a circle of people around you that you can trust when you're in business, such as a lawyer, CPA, your key people. And then, of course, you need to have a trusted banker and financial analyst as well, right? But this person can be very familiar with how your business works so that they can assist you in really doing like a tailored way of banking for your business. Now, people sometimes forget that banks provide financial and advisory services to small and medium-sized businesses. They can tailor specific products that fit each business. It could be as simple as a checking account, for let's say you're a realtor and you want something simple. Or if you have a more elaborate business, it could, you could have multiple treasury management products. So an example would be like I said, an independent contractor like a realtor, which probably just needs a checking account, online banking, debit cards, credit cards, or let's just say a manufacturing company or a retail company that gets supplies from overseas. They might need, besides the account and online banking, they need credit cards, wires. They might do wires. They need remote deposit. They need merchant services so they can take credit cards. So there's a wide variety of different things on why it's really important to have a good relationship with your bank. Here are some ways on how to build a relationship with your bank, pretty much. Number one would be communicate regularly. This is how they get to know you. Banks are huge in getting to know their clients. It's their job. It's important for them, especially some banks have been burned in the past, not knowing who their clients were, and then the clients did something illegal and the bank got fined, for example. So communicate regularly with your bank. Move beyond small talk. So don't just say chit chat, hi, how are you? Talk about your business more. Let them in your world a little bit. Tell them how it operates. Tell them what keeps you up at night. You never know. They might come up with a solution for you. Be honest. I know that's such a simple thing to say, right? But really, it's important to be honest with your bank. If you have a certain circumstance that come up, try to explain it to them and tell them what happened. It could be as simple as, let's say, a check was written to a different business name, but you're trying to deposit it in your name. Instead of just trying to sneak it in, explain it to them. And they might not be able to do it, but at least you were honest and you told them what the situation is. And then I'm pretty sure they'll come up with a solution for you. Apply early for loans. Like I said, we'll talk about loans in a different day because that's a huge topic. But in the banking industry, they always say, and it's a joke actually, but there's some reality to it. Apply for a loan when you don't need it. Because sometimes it is a lot harder to get a loan when you are hurting and you actually need it. So apply early for loans. Share your goals. Tell them what your end game is or what success looks like for you. You never know. They might be able to have to come up with solutions or ideas for you that might help your business. Might make a process easier for you. Give a tour of your business. In my whole banking experience, I've never met a business who were not so proud to show off who they are and what they do. It's the same for most bankers. If you get the right banker who's really interested, invite them over. Show them what you do. It really helps them as well to get to know you. We go back to that knowing about your client. And then build a good track record. This is what I mean by building a good track record. Making sure you don't overdraw checks. Making sure you make the right deposits or deposits on time, I should say. Some people have a lot of money, but they're very irresponsible when transferring money from one account to another account. When you overdraw an account, that's a tick mark against you, and that's not good for your overall business record. It plays a role when you're applying for a loan later on. So it's always good to keep that. All right, so I guess the answer again is yes. You need to have a good relationship with your banking. It's very beneficial if you do. But first, of course, you find the right bank that fits you. All right, let's take a quick break. And when I get back, we'll talk a little bit more about banking.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
All right, so we've discussed a little bit about the importance of having a relationship with your bank. Now let's talk about banking in general. How do you find the right fit for you? So there's a lot of different factors when you're looking for a bank. On the flip side, there's a lot of different banks. You have the big chain banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all of these banks, big national banks. There's good regional size banks, Nevada State Bank, Western Alliance is another one. So, and then you've got the smaller banks like Bank of George. You've got the one-off banks like East West Bank. When I say one-off, meaning they have just one branch here, for example. How do you choose what's right for you, pretty much? That would really depend on the need of your business, or how busy is your business, or what are the demands for the transactions that you have in your business. So it could be as simple as if you're a restaurant chain, you need change a lot because you still get a lot of cash customers. You might want a bank that has some branches. So there's always a branch that's near you, and it's easy for you to be able to get change. Or there are people who just want to have that comfort knowing that there are many branches. It could be customer service is the number one most important thing for you. And sometimes that's how smaller banks, like a small community bank, can compete with a bigger bank. It's more personalized service for them, and they can have more creative solutions for you. You might be very tech savvy, so you don't really need to go into branches. So you're fine with a bank with little branches. Or you might need a bank that does a lot of transactions overseas. So if you're a manufacturing company or you're a retail company that gets your supplies from a different country, you might need products, like letters of credit, for example, that's needed if you're doing international business. So again, it's finding the right bank for you so you can pretty much tailor it for your business. When you're opening a business account, don't just go to the branch and say, hey, I want to open an account. They're going to ask you to come back. You'll need to bring your business paperwork. So it's always a great idea to call the bank ahead, try to find out, okay, I want to open an LLC, I want to open a sole proprietorship, or even a nonprofit. What do I need to bring to you? Sometimes it's even better if you can send it to them in advance. There's a lot of banks out there that need approval from their compliance department before they can open that account for you. So giving it to them in advance, giving them time to review it, can be beneficial for you, so you're not waiting around the lobby while you're doing that. How much is the typical opening deposit amount? A lot of different checking accounts for business, they only require you to $100 pretty much to open the account. However, there are minimums to a lot of these checking accounts to avoid fees. So you need to find that out. So if you don't want to pay the fees every month, it could be $2,500, could be $5,000. Each bank is different. Or if we get lucky, you can find a bank that still doesn't offer, that offers still a free checking account, a free business checking account, without any deposit requirements. What are typical fees for having an account? It's usually $10, $12.50, or $15, depending on the type of account that you have. Those are usually the common charges. Each bank could be different. And then always find out how to avoid the fees. I mentioned earlier about having a minimum deposit, or maybe you have a different kind of account connected to it, or some kind of product or loan that will allow you to have a free checking account. Why is it important to disclose to the bank parts of your operation, especially about your deposits? I mentioned in my opening that it's very important for banks to know their clients. They need to develop a comfort level with you. They need to kind of understand if you are a business, a money service business, for example. Well, now that's a bad example because you have to submit several paperwork to do that. But let's say you're a restaurant and you still get cash. Maybe you only take cash. So you deposit a lot of cash every day. Bankers need to know that. So they're not wondering, why are you depositing so much cash every day, right? It's important for them to know who their clients are. What are some common errors which business owners do to overdraw their accounts? And why is it not good? I mentioned earlier that you need to develop a good track record. And developing a good track record in banking means two ways. You're not overdrawing your account, which leads to bounce checks, and you're not late payments on your loan. Those are the two main things that they look at. Now, when you overdraw your account, sometimes it could be an honest mistake. Some of the things that are very common is, I forgot to make a transfer. Or sometimes business owners are so busy, they forgot that they wrote a big check and they forgot that the amount that they have in the bank is not enough to cover that check, and they forgot to transfer money. Those are some of the things. So if that's the way your system works, you can devise a system that to make sure that you don't overdraw your account. You can apply for a overdraw loan. While it does, it pretty much covers your bank account if it's going to overdraw. And that's very important so that you don't get a tick mark against you if your account goes overdrawn. Or maybe you could do an automatic transfer every month with a set amount of the bills that you pay. That's ready. What is check systems and what are the consequences of being in that list? Check systems is kind of like a black book pretty much. So if you've been deemed abusive to your account, let's say you write a lot of bad checks or you've overdrawn your bank account a lot, you get put in this, when the bank closes your account, because they can do that, they can put you in this list, and it makes it very difficult for you to be able to open another bank account in a different bank. You'll have to explain to them what happened. You'd have to prove to them that you've resolved the issue. So main thing is try not to let that happen. But if it does happen, because we're all just human, right? Fix it right away. Go to the bank that it happened at, find out who you can contact, pay whatever you owe, and then get that cleaned up right away. Because it's very, very difficult not to have a bank, pretty much. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about different products from banking, as well as the difference between a big bank and a small bank.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
Welcome back. All right, let's move on. Continue talking about banking. So, there's a lot of different banks, big banks, small banks. What's really the difference between the two? I mean, if you look at it, resources probably is one, customer service is two, technology probably is three. When you go with a bigger bank, you have more resources, you have more branches, the reach is farther. They could be a international bank. Technology-wise, they'll definitely be better because they do have more resources, so they can afford to buy the latest and greatest toys that's out there. You can use the mobile deposit app. You can do deposit through camera on your phone and things like that. Smaller banks are more for the ones if you're still looking for truly a relationship and good customer service. That's how they can compete against bigger banks, by having that personalized service. And their main thing is really keeping you happy so you would stay with their bank. And believe it or not, to a lot of business owners, this is very, very important for them. They want a balance of personalized service and to have the technology and the resources of a regular bank. Why is customer service still important? They want that personalized service where they can have a one point of contact, for example, who can get to know their business, very familiar with them. So when something comes up that they need, it's so easy for them to call the bank and say, hey, Sonny, can you help me with this? So besides loans, what are some of the products that banks offer that's very important for your business? These are called treasury management products. And a lot of them, believe it or not, a lot of business owners sometimes don't know that their bank offers these particular products. So let's go through some of them, some of the popular ones, just so you get familiar with it. The first one is merchant services. This is the product that will allow you to be able to take credit cards. Now, believe me when I say this, not a lot of people carry cash anymore. Everything is paid through either their phone or cards. So it's very, very important if you're a business to be able to take credit cards. And you need a merchant service account for that. Now, besides the bank, there are other companies that offer this as well. My advice is always just looking for somebody that you can trust, somebody that you feel comfortable with, and then you go through their process of getting accepted, and then you sign an agreement with them. If you don't have to be bound to a contract, that's even better. And my advice too is always check, at least every other year or every year, check your rates just to make sure you're getting the best rate. If you're not, don't just switch. Talk to your provider and tell them, hey, you know what? This XYZ company is offering me a better rate. Can you match that? And take a look. I've been a long-time customer of yours. That still carries a clout. Always check the fine print, because a lot of these places, that's how they make money. They have extra charges that you don't see unless you really inspect it. So merchant services is probably the most popular one. The second one is remote deposit. The remote deposit, for those who don't know, is the ability for you to be able to deposit checks from your office. What it is your bank will give you a little machine, a scanner, and they have different scanners. It could be a scanner that can take one check at a time, or if you still get a lot of checks, it has a check feeder that can have multiple checks at a time. It's so convenient because you can deposit up to, I believe, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and it's still available for you the next day. But it also prevents you from leaving your business to deposit money at the bank. You don't have to rush to get there before they close. This is another very, very popular product. It's called remote deposit. Well, some other banks have a different name for it as well, but it's the product that allows you to be able to deposit checks through a scanner at your office. Interesting fact, this actually came about after 9/11. When 9/11 happened, airplanes stopped flying. And at that time, checks were being flown from place to place to get processed. So when the checks stopped flying, a lot of deposits and payments were not processed. That's how remote deposit came about. The third one is called positive pay, and there's two different types: positive pay for checks and positive pay for ACHs. This is probably one of the best tools that banks have to prevent fraud on your account. So basically, to keep it simple, if you write a check, you have to let the bank know what checks you wrote, and they will only pay those checks that you've approved to be paid. Same with ACH. So if something comes in, it's not included in your list, they will call you and ask you if that's something that you did or not, or if they can't reach you, they will not pay it as a default. The fourth could be lockbox. This is very, very specialized. It's probably very common for HOAs, or any business that collects a lot of different checks. It gets mailed to the bank directly or one of their processors, and then they collect it and process it for you. And lastly, a last example would be cash pickup. This is where you work with, I'm sure you see those armored cars around town, but they collect the money for you if you're cash intensive business, and then they bring that deposit for you back to the bank. So all of these pretty much, when you have your own business, you discuss the things that you do or what you need with your banker and see if it's something that they offer. The best advice that I can give you when opening an account, really, so you're not waiting in the lobby, is again contacting that bank early. Give them your business paperwork that they need so they can get it approved before they even open it for you. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't been in a big bank in a long time, so I'm not sure if that would work for them or not. But in a smaller bank, that definitely will. Best advice for choosing a bank, again, that depends on you. What's important to you? The number of the branches, their technology, or customer service, or simply knowing somebody from that bank that you're comfortable with and you can trust. Those are very important things to understand when you're choosing a bank. All right, I hope you found that very helpful. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll go through our last segment, which is going back to the roadmap.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
All right, so thank you and welcome back. For our last segment, like I promised, we're going to keep on going the roadmap, and we are going to hit three things today: business structure, naming your business, and business location. So on business structure, so once you've got the idea, you've planned it, you have training already on what to do, you've already networked pretty much, you're set, you're ready to go. The next thing is business structure. How do you want to structure your business? The best advice that I can give you for this is really consult with your CPA or your business lawyer and find out what's the best for you. What type of business do you have? Do you need some kind of protection? So then you'll have to decide if sole proprietor is good enough. Maybe you want to become an LLC. What type of LLC? Is it a partnership LLC? Or you want to be an S or C Corp, for example. Again, the best way to get this is get an advice from your CPA. You get advice from your business lawyer. You could also click on the resources that's in that page. There are some in there too, SBA, SBDC, that you can talk to and see what would be good. I've always been in the belief that the more I know, the better. Now, once you've got the business structure in hand, that's when you can go to Silver Flume, right there in the bottom of that list, and that's when you start applying or getting your business registered with the state of Nevada. Now, your accountant or your business lawyer can also do that for you for a fee, of course, but they will take care of registering it for you with the Secretary of State. One thing to remember, if you do it yourself and you register yourself as the resident agent, you will also be responsible for renewing that every year. And it's really not that hard. You get reminders. They'll email you when it's coming up, and you just have to find the time to go in there and do it, pretty much. The next thing on that list is naming your business. I'm not a very creative person, so I always ask for my wife's help when it comes to naming or kind of slogan. Hopefully you are more creative than I do and you can come up with a very good name for your business. But once you do, you want to make sure when you're on that Secretary of State to put it in to see if it's still available. That's the number one thing. You want to make sure it's a little bit unique because you can always do a DBA anyway, which we'll get in a minute here, or actually a few seconds. Now, but you find yourself a name, and that's the name that you register at the Secretary of State. So let's just say you pick my initials, your initials, RV, Business Enterprise, blah, blah, blah. Now you want to do a name that's more specific to what you're doing. So let's say telephone sales or something like that. Now you can do a DBA. It's called Doing Business As. And that one you have to apply for in the county that you'll be doing business with. So for example, if you're doing it here in Las Vegas, after you've registered everything in the state, you can go to the Clark County and apply for a DBA. As far as I know, and I've checked this, you cannot get a DBA online yet. It's still in the process. So you actually have to go down there to the Clark County Center. But the good news is it's very efficient now. The last time I had to do it, it only took me 15 minutes to get the whole process done. But the one thing that you need to make sure is you can do a search to make sure that that DBA is not taken yet and that you can still get it for your business. Then, business location. That would be the third one and last that we have. Why is location very, very important? It's a lot. So, a lot of different reasons why it's important. Number one thing, it depends again on what type of business you have. So, for example, restaurants, right? Chinatown is a very vibrant area, very big tourist spot here. I would argue that next to the Strip, it might be the second or the third. Actually, it's in the Strip in downtown. I believe it's the third most visited part of our city. And so it's only perfect that you put a restaurant there. Most of those restaurants that's in Chinatown have longevity. Because as long as if you're a good restaurant, people will keep on coming to you. And guess what? Tourists will tell other tourists, hey, when you're in Vegas, make sure you visit this restaurant right here. And I can give you several examples of restaurants in Chinatown, for example, that have been there forever and have a great following outside of Las Vegas. If you are a business that does business with the casinos, especially if you're a provider of or some kind of vendor, then you want to be somewhere near the casinos, right? You want your warehouse somewhere close by. You don't want your warehouse all the way in North Las Vegas where it's so far that you have to truck everything in earlier. So again, location definitely matters. If you are a fingerprinting place, for example, you want to be somewhere centralized so that it's a lot easier for your clients to be able to send you clients. Location is a huge key to the success of your business. If you have a very good business, but you're in a terrible location, I'm sorry to say this, but you're making it very harder for you to be successful. Now, if you're an online business, well, that doesn't really matter. You want somewhere that's probably has good access to where shipping is nearby, right? Or at least where you have good warehouse space. But the lesson from that is business location is very, very important. Then you can also look at it from a state perspective. We've talked about this, I believe, 2 segments before, where Nevada is still probably the premier place to open a business because we're very business savvy or business friendly. We have no state income tax. So now you're thinking about location-wise as a nation, where do I want to open my business? Well, Nevada is attractive because of those reasons. So location matters. All right. That is our show for tonight. I hope that really helped. That was very informative. Please call the studio if you have any questions. I'll be glad to answer them, or put it in the comments on Facebook and I'll try to get back. But yep, thank you so much, and I'll see you next Monday.